Dragon has a secret. This isn't surprising as he is among One Piece's #1 international men of mystery. However, this particular secret, should it be let slip, is one that would rock both the One Piece world and the One Piece fandom to their respective cores. Hey there, I'm Dawn of the World and I have been fraternizing with the enemy. Yes, this is relevant to the theory. I work at a chain store and I went shopping at our lead competitor store. I became a casual COVID contact. I don't have the virus, but I did miss out on a shift of work and therefore a shift of pay, but that is just a result of what you get when you fraternize with the enemy. On that note, another result of fraternizing with the enemy is Monkey D. Luffy. How so, you might ask? Well, that just so happens to be the topic that I'll be shining a light on today. And since you're here, why not try fraternizing with my subscribe button? So, as we all know, Dragon is Luffy's father. That is true and indisputable. Garp is Luffy's grandfather. That is also true and indisputable. However, what I'm going to be shining a light on today is a pretty crazy theory about an immense secret of world-shattering proportions. This is quite likely the same secret Oda has mentioned in Dragon's Vivre card, the secret regarding his past where even if his subordinates found out, they'd still follow him without a doubt. That rhymed. This is a secret that I believe that Garp is in on, and he and Dragon have been keeping this from the Marines, from the Revolutionaries, from the world government, from Luffy, from literally everybody but the two of them, and maybe one or two other people of the whoop slap variety. This is a theory I have seen people talking about online in various capacities, and I have pondered about it myself as well. However, I haven't seen people talk about it all that much on YouTube. That was until I changed around some keywords and found that one or two other people had kind of touched on the subject, but I would like to go more in depth and add some of my own findings into the mix. As mentioned, Dragon is Luffy's father, Garp is Luffy's grandfather, but Dragon is not Garp's son, because don't you find it weird that Garp has never once referred to Dragon as his son? It's right there from post Enies Lobby during Garp's formal introduction. "I heard you met your dad," he says, rather nonchalantly, proceeding to exclusively refer to Dragon as Luffy's dad in this scene. Like he never says Dragon isn't his son, but pretty much everyone naturally assumes that Dragon is Garp's son at this point, and that this is just a simple, straight paternal line. I guess because throughout most fiction and even history itself, which in turn influences fiction, the paternal line is seen as something of a default. Even Helmeppo jumps straight to this conclusion in one of the following panels, thus giving the audience a subconscious green light to lead their bias in the same direction, even if he is incorrect. Garp doesn't correct him after all, which just kind of further cements those biases, but as to why he doesn't correct him, we'll get to that. And then just a few days and various shots of Frankie's ass later, we get this scene in which Garp's battalion are sent to pursue Luffy and his crew out of obligation, and Garp does this. He refers to Luffy as the son of my child, or even more genderless, the child of my child in the direct Japanese translation. In this scenario, why wouldn't he refer to Luffy as the son of his son? This feels intentionally vague on Garp's part, but also on Oda's part as a writer. What I'm obviously trying to get at is that Garp isn't Luffy's paternal grandfather like we've always thought, but his maternal grandfather, meaning that Luffy's mother, Ms. Monkey, as most mysterious and enigmatic figure in One Piece as she is Garp's child in question, meaning that to Garp, son of my child remains to be a correct referral to Luffy, thus allowing Oda as a writer to once again have given us part of the truth while also hiding the other half in plain sight and allowing for a big revelation later on. Therefore, this would make Dragon not Garp's son, but his son-in-law. Here's the thing though, Dragon has to have come from somewhere, right? He didn't just spring out of a hole in the ground. There is a strong resemblance between Luffy and Garp, but this resemblance is not evident in Dragon. He doesn't really look anything like Garp when compared to Luffy, which, should this theory prove correct, makes sense as they are not related by blood. It would also mean that for the most part, Luffy seems to take after the maternal side of his family in terms of appearance. There is someone who does share a strong resemblance with Dragon, however. Granted, we haven't had that good a look at him, and is old enough to have been his father, and that is, have you guessed it? Do you see where this is going? Rox Beck. aka the pirate the government wanted erased from history and the predecessor of Goldie Roger. Because if Avatar: The Last Airbender told us anything, it's that you can have more than one grandfather, or great-grandfather as it was in that story, but the sentiment still stands. Furthermore, popular Japanese One Piece theorist Yuderon has always pointed out that one of the quintessential rules Oda implements when writing One Piece is the idea of two sides of the same coin, which I think can kind of be extended to the notion of equal opposites coming together. With this in mind, if nothing else were to convince me, think of what this would mean in regards to Luffy's origin. We have the daughter of the hero of the Marines. We have the son of the worst pirate ever, who the world government wants erased from history. In the One Piece universe, this is pretty much as star-crossed as you're gonna get. Like, this is some Song of Ice and Fire level business they've got going on here. The trope of this kind of forbidden romance is probably one of the most classic story elements of all time, going back centuries and centuries. Even Romeo and Juliet was inspired by another, even older story of star-crossed lovers, and so on so forth for as long as humans have had stories to tell. Luffy, the protagonist of a series where the idea of two sides of the same coin is such a fundamental theme, would literally be the physical embodiment of two sides of the same coin amalgamating, or fraternizing with the enemy, if you will. Also, this panel of Whoop Slap at the end of chapter 96 would carry a lot more weight. His dream or his fate? This now makes me nearly 100% convinced that Xebec is Luffy's other grandfather, and that Whoop Slap knows this fact somehow. And given how busy his panels tend to be, Oda isn't the type to give us a sparse panel like this, especially one featuring a seemingly minor character, unless it were to have some kind of future significance that we'll all be able to look back on one day. Also in chapter 440, just one chapter after Garp's "child of my child" comment, Whoop Slap comments how all three generations of that family are crazy, which if Xebec is included in this, certainly still stands. On that note, as to why Whoop Slap knows any of this, what if Whoop Slap was Xebec's brother? But no, we're not going to go down that path. We want to keep this video relatively sensible. And yes, this would mean that Dragon's name is technically Rox D. Dragon. So why would he go by Monkey D. Dragon? Some simple answers to this. For one thing, Garp and Dragon may not see eye to eye, but they both definitely care about Luffy in some capacity and would understand the danger Luffy would have faced just by being born as a descendant of a pirate the world government tried to erase from history. Presuming Dragon is Xebec's son, he would understand this well, and has even kept his own relation to his father under tight wraps all this time, probably not wanting his lineage to influence anybody's perceptions of him in his status as a revolutionary. It would also lean into one of the other great thematic motifs of the series, that the sins of a father should not be passed onto a child, and the act of just existing is not a crime. I imagine that Garp and Dragon may have had a discussion where they agreed that they needed to play along as a father and son in the scenario Luffy's connection to Dragon was discovered, in order to shut down any possible further connections that could have been drawn between Xebec and Luffy as a form of protecting Luffy. Because if there were a known connection between Luffy and Xebec, particularly during the earlier part of the series, things could have been a lot more dangerous for Luffy. Another major reason Dragon would have taken the monkey name is the Japanese practice known as mukuyoshi, or adopted son-in-law. This is an occasional occurrence in which a man marries a woman with a family of distinctively higher social standing than his own and takes her family name as opposed to the woman traditionally taking the man's name. This allows the man from the lower standing family to take a step up the social ladder while maintaining the social status of the woman's family. So in the One Piece world, when you have a child of the hero of the Marines and the child of the worst pirate ever, well, it's going to be a little bit of a no-brainer. And One Piece wouldn't even be the only series where we see this happen. Just look at some of the other big names that come out of Jump. Uzumaki, Kushina's name, Kurosaki, Masaki's name. It wouldn't even be the only example of this in One Piece itself. Luffy's own sworn brother, Portgas D. Ace, Rogue's name. And yes, where people say that Ace could technically have gone by Goldie Ace, similar could be said for Luffy. As much as his name is Monkey D. Luffy, he would also technically have the name Rox D. Luffy should this theory prove correct. Rox D. Luffy doesn't exactly have the same ring to it now, does it? Side note, this would also mean that, like Ace, Luffy would have inherited a D from both sides of his family, like two crescents joining together to make a circle. How about that? I wonder if when we do see Zebek, if there'll be some level of resemblance to Luffy, even though Luffy seems to massively take after Garp. And would Garp ever see that? Like when he was face to face with Luffy at Marineford, was it like looking into a mirror reflecting both his own younger self and his presumably greatest adversary? Also, while we're here, some fun namesakes and trivia for this paternal side. A Zebek is a type of ship and a Luffy is a part of a ship. Granted, Oda didn't know this at the time he named Luffy, but he would have known by the time he named Zebek. Furthermore, the other part of Roxy Zebek's namesake was a pirate named Rox the Brazilian, because he was active and operated in, you guessed it, Brazil, which is where Luffy would be from if he were born into the real world. Also, fun fact, Dragon's favourite food is bacaditos. Bacaditos? So sorry if I said that wrong. All of the Latin and Spanish speaking people are cringing right now. Which is Cuban slider sandwiches, and the name of his ship is Wild Grandma, which is named after a yacht from the Cuban Revolution. I'm well aware that Cuba is not Brazil, but like Brazil, it is a Latin American country, so read what you will, even if you would class this as reaching at this point. I'm also aware that there's still some missing pieces to this theory, such as mild hints to Dragon's childhood, the question of weren't any of Garp's contemporaries aware that he had a daughter and not a son, what's the deal with Dragon's tattoos, as well as how Dadan and Goa Kingdom factor into all of this, and probably much more. But if this theory does prove correct, I'm sure Oda will fill in all of the blanks for us. If nothing else, at this point I'm convinced that Roxy Zebek is Luffy's other grandfather, and that Luffy is the son of the child of the worst pirate ever, and the child of the hero of the Marines. Even if Dragon is Garp's spawn after all this, which I'm not entirely convinced, it'll just mean that Luffy's mother could be Zebek's daughter, and the star-crossed lovers / two sides of the same coin component of this theory still stands. Anyway, I'm interested in hearing you guys' thoughts, so let me know down in the comment section below, and be sure to like and subscribe for any upcoming content. I'm Dawn of the World, and I will see you next time. Later, guys.